Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Experience. And today we have some of my most favorite people on the planet, my buddies and metaphysical moms from the JoyRide Show, both hosts this time. Tiffanie, hostesses with the mostesses. Tiffanie Williams and Kerry Walker, my dear friends, thank you for joining us. Welcome. How are you all today?
How's everything up there?
We're good, and we're all ready to rock and roll. So I don't have like big lengthy bios for you guys, and needless to say, you're incredible metaphysical moms, and you both have your own special sauce, and I actually... because this is called The Experience, I would love to hear your experiences in your awakening process. And this is really your individual journey, and we'll give everybody a little bit of their own time to share, because I know both of your stories are very unique and special, and I'm really wanting these stories out there so people who are going through their awakening process now and maybe not even realizing that they're going through their awakening process can hear these stories and hopefully it'll resonate. So who wants to go first?
Are you pointing at
Tiffanie.
me?
Tiffanie
Yes,
wants to go first, right?
You can't tell, but this is Skittles. She's off camera here, but this is Kerry's giant poodle, who is just my daughter. She's a daughter I don't have. Maybe she'll come make an appearance here in a minute. So this
we
is what
can
I'm playing
see her
with
little muzzle. She's such a sweet dog. She's all love, that one.
So, oh my gosh, the awakening process is just that. It's a process. It's a journey. I don't think there's a destination to arrive at. And once you feel like you have firm footing, it all kind of dismantles again, and there's a whole nother layer. So it's been a life journey. And we did a whole show where I got to tell the whole story and how, my mom passed away when I was a kid, and I created a lot of fear, a lot of feeling alone and disconnected and afraid of death, and and everything paranormal just freaked me out. It was too scary, and I had no control over it. So fast forward till I was in my 20s, and I had a connection with my mom. And it felt so loving and beautiful. And I said, what is that? And it was just like a little grain of gold. And I just kept following that grain of connecting with spirit, connecting with my own source, understanding there's so much more going on than the 3D. What?
I saw a thread. You know how the silkworm has a thread, and then it's all bound, and then it's like that one little thread.
It was just a tiny thread that I followed because it felt like truth and it felt like love, and it was a 180-degree opposite feeling from everything I'd been living in. And so that's just been my journey, to follow that thread.
So let me dig into the nuance there, because when you say you followed that thread, to some that may seem a little abstract. Was there a feeling inside? Did it give you more of a sense of hope as you noticed that? What do you think told you to follow that thread?
It was, yes, exactly that. It was a feeling of peace and hope and connection and truth. Can you see Skittles here? And I started just reading books. This was in the late 90s, so it was kind of before the internet had the content that it does now. I just started reading books, Conversations with God. There was a book called Real Moments, and you just have these moments of truth, and they're just like little nuggets that I just kept following. And I had to unlearn all of these, I would say, bad habits, bad information, old paradigms that I had just taken for granted because that's what kind of everybody believed. And it was my journey has been an unlearning process to just allow truth to be there just as it is. And I forget. Every day I forget, and I have to relearn and re-remember. And I'm just surrounded myself by people who are on this journey with me and who are willing to just remind me when I forget, and then we help each other when we fall down and get stuck in the mud. So that feeling of truth when it's like that, they call it the aha moment, when you're just like, oh, that it just fits into place. It's like a puzzle piece.
Mm-hmm.
I followed those
mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
kind of collected them.
That's so good, and it is. I mean, that and so what's interesting that you're saying too is it isn't just this eureka moment and then you have it. There's also this tendency within us, right? Like, and correct me if I'm wrong, to kind of want to go back to sleep as we're awakening. It's like, wow, oh.
It's scary out here.
Yeah, it's like you open that door to the universe, you're like, oh no, too big, too much. I have no idea. You know, I feel safe in my little 3D world. But once you crack the door and you feel that love and that truth, and it's empowering if you can look at it that way, it's kind of gets exciting to break down all these paradigms. And now we have our show where that's kind of, we have a weekly conversation about how do we do this? How do we help each other? As mostly women, we have plenty of great guys that are tuning in, but how do we, especially with our feminine energy, with our divine feminine energy, heal ourselves and then spread that out to our families, our communities? How do we collectively move this forward? So I don't know if that answered the question about my process.
It totally does. I mean, and there's no right way. I mean, I think, well, how cool it is, like, following these nuggets, and here you are really in service to humanity in this time. And I really encourage anybody who's watching who hasn't seen the JoyRide Show to tune in, because it's really got that piece in it of they're regular moms, they've got regular lives, but then they're really just following their guidance, and it's really cool to see the different people that they're bringing on the show, and it's a really cool setup.
It is, because I mean, there's how many billions of people on the planet, and everyone is having a different experience of it, so there's no right or wrong.
Right, and it's an optimistic interpretation too. I think there's so much intense negative focus on what's going on. There's a lot of doom and gloom, and you guys bring some lightness, and you're nice to look at.
Oh, Mama,
you're my friend.
Doesn't hoit.
Thanks. Coming from you,
so you red, blonde, and
yeah, it's our single post. Skittles is gray.
Well, you know, and I think it's our job. I mean, I think that you sort of, once you wake up, it's like, oh man, now I have to do it. I mean, now you're charged with this mission to go out and it's not witnessing, it's just not hiding. It's like the opposite. I think hiding is you don't have that. It's not okay. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? I mean,
yeah. Well, and I think that's an interesting point, because I think there are people who would say, yeah, that is how I feel too. But I'm sure, you know, and I've talked to a variety of people who have had their awakening experience, or I guess they shut down their awakened state, like as children. Just think of how we've all kind of done that in some way as children, shutting it down. And so it's possible to happen, except we have the cosmic energies that are hitting our planet right now. The vibration,
right,
as we know, the Schumann resonance has shifted, so the vibration of the planet is actually increasing. So
like huge increasing.
Huge, like exponential, yeah. So it's really a lot harder to go to sleep, which is of benefit. But if you're really trying to go to sleep, you're going to have to work a whole lot harder, and that causes more of a bumpy ride.
Well, yeah, and I know for me, yesterday, I'm reaching out to like tutors, and we're having to readjust some things here at home, and there's this woman, and she's so sweet, and she said, oh, I can talk to you between this time and this time, and I have my Bible study at this time. Well, on my email, it says, check us out, it's the JoyRide Show on YouTube, and it's like, and I thought, should I just erase that? And then husband came in, and I forgot, and because she doesn't know me at all, and then I thought, no. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about. It's like, right, you have to be honest and just be who you are, right, and not care. I mean, really not.
And I really want to get to that, but I do want to give you a chance to share more about your awakening experience too, because it's different than Tiffany's. And I just want just give a synopsis about that, because I do have some juicy questions that I really want to delve into.
Go into. Well, mine just started. It started, then it stopped. Then it started, then it stopped. And I think I really had to get grounded and anchored in my life here on Earth in order to go out. And
what does
I
that
know,
mean to the person who doesn't know what anchored into your life and grounded mean? What does that mean?
Well, I know that 20s, I was sort of all over the place trying to figure it out. Life was definitely challenging in the way that it is. There are things you have to do. You have to pay bills. You have to get up and go to work. You have to get your education if that's the route you take. But all those things were so, I didn't want to. I don't want to. And I don't know what I want to do, but I know that's not it. And so I kept trying to cram myself into these different templates that were like the surefire way that you will go where you want to go.
Right, and, following the prescribed success path that society says this is what a successful person in their, and they're moving into adulthood phase of life. It should look just like this.
That's exactly right, and it didn't fit, and so I know what brought me peace. I've always found a lot of comfort, and I love to live in the place of feeling, and that doesn't necessarily translate in this world. So anyway, my guides have come. So I mean, being growing those roots, I realized that that's what my husband, my children, my everyday routine gives me. It gives me the strength, and it gives me the ability to branch out and go far. And I know I can always come back. I know I always have this to realign myself with. And so, and I take being a mom. I mean, that is my number one thing. I mean, I know I'm not supposed to say that.
Why?
Why
well,
not?
there are people that say, "Oh no, you need to go, be your own person, or you need to find God first," and it's not. It's being a mom, and it's those relationships are my core relationships. As I've talked to both of you guys about. That's what grounds me. And
so that stability piece.
Yeah.
It's like the balance for you to go venture off on the various levels, and then you have that sense of core. And I think we all kind of have that in common. Like, we found that anchor at home, right? And would you agree, Tiffanie?
Yeah, but Kerry's always had a very individual identity. I don't think you live for your kids. You have your own opinions. You follow your own passions and pursuits and have a big life outside of the kids. But you do put being a great mom and giving your family a lot of your time and attention first.
Okay, so she says that, but she walked into my house and she's like, okay, so Miles is home sick and he needs this and he needs that. I'm going to go take care of your son.
No. I know this whole healer route and alternative medicine, and so I'm like, have you tried this and this and
No,
this?
in a great way. No. I'm appreciative. I mean, this is where we both kind of step in with our kids, and sometimes she steps in and it's perfect. I love that.
The community of mamas. The
community
of families, we all need each other so much.
Well, and that's so. You asked me to quicken this up a bit. It is. I had cancer, but it's so weird to say that. But a tiny itty bitty spot on my arm, and I went in a couple times, and it's fine. And I'm sorry, I've just told the story so many times, I've bored myself. But I go back in, and
she trusted her gut. She trusted the instinct to get it looked at, and it was a tiny beginning of melanoma.
Right. So we caught it before it spread, and so I remember sitting in my tub one night, and I thought, okay, guys, you've come twice. I'm ready. Whatever it is I'm supposed to do, this is it. Mm-hmm. So, but I want a sign, and the next day there was a sign, and it was this four-sided pyramid and with an eye reflecting off my plates. And so that was it. And then sometimes I can hear dead people. I always hear David's voice in the back of my head.
They're not dead. You who have transitioned or are no longer physical. She's very talented, intuitive. She can see energy, and she's learned. I'm speaking for you here. You're learning to see patterns and energy and movements, and you can connect, and you're very tuned in.
Oh, she's a complete badass. You guys both are. And so, well, let me just stop you there for a second, because you said you asked your guides to show you a sign. And some people may not, I mean, synchronicities, those kinds of things, but that kind of implies that you had an idea that maybe your not paying attention to signs was causing imbalance in your body that maybe showed up in dis-ease, or is that, did I?
No, I think it was a bang on the top of my head going, hello, do you want to go home now and come back, or would you like to go ahead and get on with it?
Right.
And so, and my guides have said, we have to tell you 9 times for you to actually see it, for you to actually believe it. I had a good friend of mine who followed her path, and it led her completely out of her life, which was always a fear of mine, that I wanted to stay very grounded. And so
what do you mean by that? I mean, I don't want you to expose anyone unnecessarily, but when you say led them out of their life,
changed names, changed identity, changed everything in the name of religion, and it just that was always deeply ingrained, kind of Amityville horror for you. That was sort of deeply ingrained in me that I don't know,
I follow a spiritual path that will take you away from your family, your community, your whole life as you know it. Like, if you get out of the paradigm, you can't have a foot in both worlds.
Right.
But that's what we've been trying to create.
That is our show. I mean, that was the whole reason that we started this show. It's like, you can drive carpool, be a scoutmaster, and go home and astral travel. I mean, you can do both. And I think that we live in a time where that is actually, really
happening.
A much easier thing, much more accessible.
This is a very important point, I think. It's an amazing, important point, because, it's the idea, I think, for me, that loss of identity images, following a guru and joining an ashram in India. And although there are plenty of people who do that and change their name, and maybe that's the direction for their path, what I love about you two so much is you represent people who have this understanding, like you're in the 3D reality, participating in everyday life. You go to the grocery store, you pay bills, you do your thing, and you have a commitment to your spiritual aspect, to that growth, and whatever that means. And I think that's super important to distinguish, because I think a lot of people are afraid that their relationships have to break up, or they're gonna that something cataclysmic is gonna have to happen in order for them to have this to continue on the path of spiritual awakening. And I love that you represent that is absolutely not the case.
Well, it does happen for some people, though. You start to wake up and you realize that you have not created your boundaries that are appropriate for yourself. Or you have outgrown a current situation or relationship. So it does take a lot of courage to really step into truth of who you are, how powerful you are, what you deserve, and it's all right there for you. So it does happen sometimes, but I would say 90% of the time, people will rise with you. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I agree with that, and I do think that it is. I don't know. I think as you shift, everybody else has to shift. I mean, it is. There are things that happen. I mean, whether you stop drinking or and it's not because I'm spiritual, I can't do these things. It's I don't really want it, or like you, I'm not really feeling meat right now, and I'm not really. It's not that Tiff declares. It's that these are just these changes that she's learned to. We're talking for each other, but where it's like you learn to kind of feel into you and what you need. It's like you're really hearing it, and I don't really want dairy, or I don't really want meat, or whatever that is. And I think that's what happens. It's so subtle sometimes that next thing you know, you look up and you live this life that you never thought you would live, but it's beautiful and it's exactly what you want.
Yeah, that is my hope for people, is that they give themselves permission to even just explore in a new way. I think there's been a lot of, tell me what you two think. Do you think it's becoming easier for people to explore their spiritual path in a way that is just less catastrophic or woo-woo?
I think if you look at our mainstream, if you look on ABC, CBS, you will find shows like the Long Island
Medium, The Healer, Tyler Henry's Medium shows,
or the one recently with what is it?
TLC, baby. Those are all on TLC.
Yeah.
Well, Jason saves. Oh no.
Kevin saves the world or planet.
Yeah, where he's this angel. Like he has to go around and he has to hug people. So I think that things that were taboo really kind of are becoming a little more mainstream. Mm-hmm. Whether they're oils, whether it's Reiki. I think a lot of that, and I don't think it's just because we've tuned into it. I think that there is, it's becoming more mainstream.
And at first I was kind of scared to come out to my community, but this is how I think. I've been thinking this way for so long, and but everybody I tell has a little story of, oh my gosh, I had this dream, and so and so came to me, or I did this healer thing once, or somebody read my palms, and oh my gosh, it was so cool. And so I think people are curious because we're all God inside. We're all being called to be this greater, expanded version of ourselves. And so I think that people are waking up, and that we're hoping, like, again, with our show, to make this conversation more normal. And we have what we call first gear shows. Where we, maybe we'll talk about Reiki or acupuncture or essential oils, and then we have like second gear shows, and we talk about maybe speaking with spirit, connecting with a medium, and maybe, and then like we're getting into the higher gears where we're teaching you how to astral travel or connect with aliens in different dimensions, and so we try and make it a process because we can't take someone all the way to connecting with the Palladians and understanding. What?
That was the government is off the car. I mean, this last show we did was, it just went,
we had James Gilliland, and he was just throwing stuff down about the Draconian Wars and the grids and all the beings that are coming in.
Ascension and everythty, yeah.
Yeah,
and he's like, I'll try not to fire hose the seedlings, but here it all.
It's a great way to say that.
Kitty Cat is knocking our setup down.
Oh, the kitty's enjoying the conversation.
Sorry about that.
Her head was caught in it.
She's nuzzling all of the...
I love your kitties. Hi, girl. Is that girl?
This girl Kitty, and we have her twin is boy Kitty.
Hi, beautiful baby. So
and
beautiful.
they're deaf. They don't hear. So
and animals know when the vibe is super yummy.
Yeah. And cats protect. And that's not, like, last night, she was with me all night, and she doesn't really do that very often. And here comes the dog.
It's just a ton of girls hanging out.
So, a menagerie, yeah.
We're boys.
We're usually surrounded by boys, because we have 5 boys between us, too, so we usually have all this boy energy, like, bouncing all over us.
It's kind of nice, and I think they feel it. Working skills.
I will say as a witness that your boys, it's so cool to see your young gentlemen growing up in both worlds, like they're sort of bringing it. They're straddling the metaphysical and the physical, and they're just awesome kids.
Well, yeah, somebody will do something and they're like, oh, that must be a past life thing. That's so you may not want to say that at school, but yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's actually a really good point. So people who are coming into their awakening space really quickly, and we all may know people like this who are like instantaneously metaphysical, or like, okay, I'm seeing dead people all of a sudden, what the hell am I supposed to do? Do you feel like, because you are the open mamas that you are, do you feel like that has an impact on the way you communicate with your children?
Absolutely.
1,000%. Yeah.
There have been, I had one unnamed kid in my house that was having he had a lot of emotional stuff around me. He didn't like being separated from me, and it kind of got worse as he got older instead of the other way. And we tried everything, and finally I did a past life with this phenomenal man, Ainsley McLeod, and he's like, it's right here, and it's right here. And just by his soul knowing this, it really, really helps. And as you know, you see that in your work, your incredible work.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and this is about your experience, but I can see it. I've had the honor of being around your children, and so. What do you guys ever have the kids come and say, well, you guys are telling me this thing, but then this is what's happening in school, and what do I do? Do you guys ever have that?
I've had it. I mean, her kids go to a church school, so I want you to delve into that. But mine is, my kids will come and say, this person does not believe that, Mom, and they don't really want to watch your show. I said, honey, that's okay. Everybody has their path, their timing. It's fine. Yeah, but they think, and it's like, no. We're not witnessing. We're not, this is not a right or wrong. And so we've only had that a couple of times. But I think my kids are pretty careful with who they talk about it with. I think they instinctively know that it's not mainstream. But
like one of my boys had come home and said, so and so at school doesn't believe in reincarnation. They don't believe that you come back in different bodies. And she said it's not in the Bible, so it's not true. And I was like, well, armadillos aren't in the Bible either, but they're true. So and it's okay. Not everybody has to believe.
That's an awesome thing to say.
But there are millions of Hindus and Buddhists and millions of people around the planet who do believe this. And, you've had your own experience. Both of my kids have had memories of regressions. Like my son Evan, in one of his regressions with Ainsley, he kind of somehow got separated from the tribe or the group, and he died, and he only had berries to sustain him, so he didn't eat berries. I was like, he has an aversion to blueberries. I mean, if a blueberry comes near him, and now he knows I don't eat blueberries because I had to survive on them and I died.
Oh, that's so interesting. My kid, my son has that. An aversion.
If he sees kids that have, they have anger issues, or he was triggered by so-and-so, it's funny to hear them use all the language that we throw out there. He needs to tap, Mom. He really needs to tap on that. Because I teach EFT or tapping, and I'll help them go through traumas or difficult emotions. So he's often telling his friends, you need to tap on that. You need to tap with my mom. But I have had some of the moms and students and everything come and learn tapping, and I'm thrilled to get out there. I would love to get it in the school as a stress coping technique, because kids are stressed out, whether it's a studying issue, academic or brain functioning. There's so many ways to relax your fight or flight response to things, so that you can do it your way, learn how to do it your way without the stress response.
Yeah, that's so cool. And when thinking about, because I watched your show on James Gilliland, and he was talking about the reptilian grid, and or the Draco grid. What does he call it? Draconian grid. And so what I kind of relate that to is the lizard brain and the mind, how that is sort of the underdeveloped aspect of ourselves that is really into competition, fight or flight, those kinds of things, and shifting into a more mature brain state. It's going to be interesting, right? Like how schools evolve over time when the competition starts to shift into a different space, And how cool it would be to have some EFT going on in the schools to assist with that. How rad.
Yeah, well, I know we've got friends that are bringing mindfulness and meditation and essential oils and things like that into the schools, and they're seeing results. I mean, they're able to scientifically see better test scores and less disciplinary problems when people have mindfulness instead of detention, and different practices of coping with stress and emotions and competition within schools and grades and all that. It really will be interesting, because kids are coming in, their brains are wired differently, and the old paradigm just doesn't fit anymore. Yeah, you guys talked about that with your kids. And
well, and you guys do believe that is so? And how would you say that shows up in your life? Just that responding to the comment about kids being wired differently. What do you feel is happening?
I saw it when my oldest son was about 2, and I kept thinking, I was raised and my parents would give their lives for me. I mean, they're incredible. But I was raised in damn it, because I said so. You know, and when I tell you to jump, you just ask how high. And children, you didn't. If you smirked, you got slapped. If you asked why, that was considered insolence. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Insolent. Yeah, that you just need, you talked back. You did not talk back. You did not ask why. It was a don't think.
Yeah.
And so I watched my kids, and we've decided to raise our kids very differently, different than that. And I thought some of that's age, because I was older when I had my first child. And my brother, it would drive him nuts. I just remember this one day, my son goes up and he does this on his big new TV. And Kelly was like, are you not going to spank him? And at one point, Charlie always wanted to stand up in the tub. And Kelly said, sometimes you just need to yank him, swat on the butt, and pull him down. Like, put him in the water, make him sit. And he said, it just takes a couple of times, and then he will listen. And I thought, I'm not really sure why that doesn't feel good, but I'm thinking I just kind of would rather my son reason, and I don't want to be that mother. And I'm not. I mean, I can lose my stuff with my kids, and I can rant and rave, and every now and then I get a little lectury, and, I'm definitely so far from perfect, and I'm trying so hard to really...
we all are. I mean, I think that's a misnomer about parenthood. I think that's that I call bullying on that. Yeah, that everybody's just in this perfect state of ease. I mean, when you don't have anyone around you and you're just alone, you can be out in public when your being is in the right place. But when you have kids and family members around and you're going through the ups and downs of life, like that's part of the emotional range, right?
It is, and I think too. I think the biggest difference is my children don't reflect me, good or bad. I mean, my son does something phenomenal. My oldest one, his work is starting. You have the same thing. Her kids are incredible, and it is not because of me that this child is doing phenomenal things. It is because of him. Mm-hmm. Now, I do believe that my job is to help guide him, to teach him, and he has a father that is so, my husband is so great at that too, and he's great at that, but it isn't. I don't know. I think at least with my family, we reflected on them. If we did poorly, it made them look bad. Right. Versus, right. You're just struggling with this. We need to figure out how to help you, and so that you can learn this and move past it and be who you came here to be.
Yeah. We don't take too much credit for the accomplishments and too much responsibility for the, I won't say mistakes.
Yeah.
They're learning.
Well, and they're showing up the way that they need to, right?
Man, do they ever show us?
Do they show us? And they're our greatest teachers, right? But I do want to add one thing, because in speaking to my mom in spirit, I often get great parenting advice from my mom, who's now helping in spirit, and she's like, we just had no idea of the impact of our words or our actions on you as children.
How did they not know though?
I just think you get in your world, you just get busy with going through the motions, paying the bills, getting everybody where they need to be, and you don't realize
there's trends in parenting. It's like, and we learn from their. I think during our generation, as we were being raised, it was a very hands-off time too. It's like children.
You had feminists, you had
children are seen and not heard. They're and they need to be like when they're. There was a lot of artifice. There was a lot of masking. Like, this is how the family unit should appear. And maybe that has something to do with, the move from World War II into, like, the suburbia reality, the beaver cleaver and so on and so forth. We are so not them. And then there were the hippies. The hippies kind of busted us out.
And peace, so we have time to worry about, how does my kid feel about this?
Right.
We have the privilege of being able to nurture and, really help without going overboard and making people so dependent and super sensitive. But
that's that pendulum, right? It's like it goes from, latchkey kids to, oh my God, I don't want Johnny to feel,
to hovering parents.
Our kids are tough, and they're tough.
Right.
And I want my kid to learn, you're going to fall down, Now get your ass up.
Yeah.
It's time to go.
Yeah.
And what did we learn from it? And where do we go from here?
Well,
But
how to be in the world, right?
Yeah.
How to be in the world without being unable to cope. I mean, you know.
We have to give them skills because I'm not going to be wiping their nose when they're 25, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so there are two sides to that street.
Yeah.
But I think they're more individual. I think for me that's the bottom line is my kids are individual and they're interesting and they're unique and they come in prepackaged.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you both feel that when our kids come in, do you feel like there's an agreement or some kind of dynamic that happens before they even show up?
Yep,
Of course, 1,000%.
I had a dream about my son before I got pregnant with him.
Oh,
and so we both not dated a long time, and I knew like it's time, and it is. I won't go into that story, but he and I had a dream about my son, and there was this little girl in front of him with her hands on her hips, and she looked like she was about 4 or 5, and she said, "What are you waiting for?" And he was just this cute little, maybe 18 months, and he was behind her, and he was just smiling. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna have a girl first, then a boy. I mean, I completely read it wrong. But he was ready, and yes, absolutely. We actually had to complete a past life thing in this lifetime, and it's weird how that energy completely shifted after we did that. But yes, I think that there was absolutely.
That is so cool. What do you think, Tiffanie?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, and all the work that I've read with these amazing past life regressionists. You see that we travel together in soul families and play different roles. One will play the parent, the child, the dependent, the parent that acts more like a child, different genders and races and religions, socioeconomic, so that we can have a variety of experiences together. So, and it's way more complex than I think that we know. Our soul comes in to learn concepts and lessons, and maybe not I'll exactly do this at this year and then you'll do this, but there are themes that we run along, these tracks of themes, and that's given me a whole lot of comfort and peace because my youngest son has some challenges with his health, and I keep telling him your soul chose this, and I know you consciously human don't understand why you would choose to have such a disability, but you're such a remarkable soul that you said I want to do this in a remarkable way.
Wow.
And we're here to learn so many lessons. I won't even go into all the lessons that I've learned with the experience that I've had with my child. So they may not be easy lessons to learn, but they're so valuable for the soul. And yeah, we do play these roles for each other.
Tell me what your mom said.
Which part?
About when you get home. Huh? When you get home, when you go back. And because as parents, we're so like, oh, I'm doing it right, and we worry and we fret, and everything leads to something else. And next thing you know, I mean, I remember at one point saying, my son is either going to end up a CEO or in jail, and I just take it so seriously. But then, what did your mom say? That when you get back, you're just like, oh, got it. I don't think you're sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, once you get back, it's all okay. I can't remember the specific thing you're trying to tell me because I talked to my mom often, my parents, my mom and my stepdad in spirit. So my mom died when I was a kid. My stepdad passed away almost 10 years ago. And I do connect with them often because they give me such great advice and guidance. And they do say, yeah, here, you're in it. And my mom said, if I was here with you, I'd be wringing my hands, all worried. She said, I'm so much more help to you in spirit. So it's all okay. It's all part of the plan. Don't worry. The best thing you can do is put that energy into being present moment, having fun, relaxing, and just cherishing the time that you do have. So like my youngest son, she said, don't connect with the physical part of him. Connect the energetic part of him. That's not the part to connect to. Know that your souls that continue on, whether you're here for a short time or a long time, the energetic part of you is always connected to each other. So there's no separation. You are the same person, just having a different perspective through different eyes.
For me, it feels real.
It does feel real when we're here, but it's given me such peace that we keep popping up to that 30,000-foot view and say, okay. Because in the head and the ego, it's all, constant survival, and it's exhausting.
Well, and speaking of which, I want to bring into the conversation what I think is a really important topic, and not to interrupt you, but really, not that that's not important, it's incredibly important, but shifting that energy into what's going on the planet, and that 30,000 mile, I don't know, view that you're talking about is 30,000 foot view on the planet. And so, like, the idea that judgment and keeping up with the Joneses and that perspective in your lives, how do you think we as light workers or people who are really focused at this time in bringing just openness to this time, how do you guys deal with judgment? What do you think about all of the judgmentalism, the judgment that's going on in the world, and also all of the negative stuff that we see going on? Is there a way to see it so that it's not so freaking overwhelming and negative?
Full court. Quit watching TV. Watch movies. Watch things that make you feel good, but don't watch the news.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that was half of it. Because I know no matter what I watched, I walked away feeling scared, angry. You should have heard. I mean, you heard me this morning, and that's what I felt every day about politics and the state of affairs, which was just because I take it on and I am an empath, and it's just how, and so for me, I have to disengage, and I have to say they're doing the best they can. It's hard for me to speak on this global. Well,
yeah, it's your experience. Well, and because people are going to say, well, what about, you have to stay informed, right?
No, you don't, because you're not getting the truth anyway. So why? And you will. What needs to focus, and I think that's the agreement that you make with yourself, your higher self. Is that you'll know if there's something I need to. Okay, I'm just going to put this out there. Jesus told me. He said, I will tell you 3 times. When there's something you need to know, because I was getting so into this behind the veil, dark stuff, and not getting into it, but just it's like I wanted to know more, and I wanted to know why, and I need to be informed, and there are talking points and nonsense. And he said, it's not, you need the broad strokes, you don't need the details. Mm-hmm. Husband says the same thing. He's like, I'll tell you, but you're not going to want the details. Okay, fine. Because I visualize it all.
So Jesus is coming to you. Is this the Jesus that is in the Bible?
I don't know. I've never read it, but it's the Jesus. He's Jesus. I mean, He's this beautiful, incredible, powerful, benevolent, kick-ass man. Yeah. Entity, and he is just this. It's funny he's here. He is just this. He's funny. Anyway, he is.
There's pink energy. I wonder if we're recording this because there's pink energy around you right now.
He is here.
He's always here. He is us. He's that first contact.
Yeah. But he's here. I mean, the entity that we think of is here, and he is. It's like that, like pulling it all in. But he said 3 times. I'll give it to you 3 times. Mm-hmm. He said, okay, so if there's something you need to know, it'll come at you 3 times. And he basically said it 3 times. He's like, did you see what I did there? And so I've learned, okay, and just trust that you will know, and you will have intuitive guidance. It's like the birds right before an earthquake, how they all flee, or the animals just instinctively know. Yeah. You'll know. Yeah. And so, and he really, it's such drama, and it's so gossipy and dark. Mm-hmm. Most of it, not all of it. I mean, I think you have to search for positive, happy, sweet things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I have enough going on in this house.
Right.
That, and you guys, you both have heard me talk about this stuff. I mean, you've heard me talk about the bigger picture, and then I have to unwind and come back down to, to what's important, which is y'all and my kids. And anyway, what about you?
Yeah, what about you?
Well, I think judgment is such a human condition that it's here. It's part of this 3D plane. There's no way to. It's not bad. It's just it's seeing your perspective and thinking you're right and the other person is wrong. And I believe that the awakening process is to see all these different perspectives as being right and not judging them as wrong and letting everybody have their experience, whatever it looks like. I'm not saying be a doormat and lay down and let people walk all over you, not that at all. But I only find peace when I let go of the judgment of everybody else and what they're up to, and they should be doing that or they shouldn't be doing that.
Should.
Yeah, because I never find peace with what is if I'm constantly judging and fighting, especially ourselves. So Course in Miracles is like my Bible, and it was written by Jesus as a way to help shift out of the judgment mind and into the unity mind of understanding that people are on their path. And when you're judging someone, you are judging yourself, 1,000%. And the only way to find true unconditional love is to let go of judgment. Much easier. It's a tall order because, boy, it shows up in what you wear, and what you eat, and what your bank account, your body, your food, every relationship you have. We judge it. So it's
you really judge yourself.
Well, and we did it. You know what I think is a tangible representation of human beings progressing beyond is of passing gay marriage. Like it was such a big deal for so long, and people railed against it, and then now it's sort of like meh. Like it's like people are totally. It's like it's a non-issue. And I think that that's really interesting because people will rail against things, in my belief anyway, that they see it, that's what they're supposed to rail against, and so they're responding to the cues to behave in a certain way, and they aren't used to the inner discernment, the checking in, how do I really feel about this? And it's like, oh, it's legal, And so do you two think that it's possible to get beyond the place where we're at currently about judgment?
Absolutely. Yes. So I do my tapping work, and I'll have somebody sit in front of me, and they hate their dad. Their dad's just a monster, just rare, alcoholic, blah, 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 and ruined their life. So we'll tap on all those feelings of anger and abandonment and frustration and just can't stand them, don't want them in their life. And what I will often do is have them, often for the first time, step into their father's footsteps. Like, okay, maybe he was a Vietnam vet. There was no services for him. What did he experience? They went through the Depression. How would you have coped if you had gone through that? Would you have been doing any better? Where has he been amazing and generous and helpful? And because when you get locked into a judgment, that's all you see. There's no room for the bigger picture. So sometimes you've got to really do your own work and see where you're judging yourself. And everything you say about somebody else, where am I saying that about myself? You're doing exactly the same thing.
Right, that negative self-talk.
And once you can start to see it from a different perspective, then all these other beautiful things do show up, or that they have an opportunity to show up because you're not stomping on them before they even have a chance to blossom. And it can shift a paradigm. I have seen things shift. People who haven't talked in 10 years, you clean up how you feel about somebody, and then I'll get a call, oh my God, my dad called me out of the blue, and he's gotten on this new program or whatever, and we're starting a new relationship. It comes from the heart.
That is what it's all about, I think. That's...
So when you do your work to clean up your judgment, and your emotions let you know how you're feeling about things. So when you do your work, it really does change your reality and your world, the way you then respond and see the world. So all of this judgment is really opportunities to find our love and our power and our peace that we're not seeing.
Totally.
It's all right there. So it doesn't bother me that it's there. I just wish people would see it for what it is.
You're helping them. Yeah. Carrie, what, hon?
I wrote about that, and it was funny because I write, and when I write, everything gets really clear in my head, and that is exactly right. When we drop from our head to our heart, when we go from, I can't believe that guy cut me off, to, oh man, I hope he's okay. I hope he's not having a heart attack. It is when we drop into the heart, we have empathy,
forgiveness,
and it becomes real. Yeah, and someone had asked, like a Q&A thing, they had said, how do you let go of things when someone has done something really bad to you. And that's exactly what she said. It's like you don't lay down as a doormat. You don't say, okay, fine, I have to accept it.
Right.
You know, you just find that place of empathy. And I think the world would be a much, much better place if we could somehow figure out how to do that.
And I agree. And I'm gonna take this more into the past life realm. So one of the things that I find people struggle with a lot in my conversations with them about reincarnation and creating your own reality is the idea that bad things happen to good people. And if you create your reality, that would mean that good people are somehow calling forth these really horrendous things. And so I'm curious what you lovely ladies think about just that notion about, you know, really the idea that like somebody like Hitler, for example, or, you know, someone who's a vilified, like clearly evil, done horrendous things, or, L. Ron Hubbard, or, you know, people who have done, or even, people who have perpetrated horrendous crimes against humanity. Where are they on the spectrum? How do we judge them? Do we judge them? How do we wrap our minds around these interpretations of these people? I'm just curious what you guys think.
Well, I don't think it has to be I forgive him. I think Hitler wasn't a bad guy. I mean, clearly there's some really shady shit that happened. Mm-hmm. I mean, to say just the absolute least. But it is, I just can't, I have to go to that place of we chose to come in with that potential timeline. Mm-hmm. We chose to be here. We chose, because in that, how many stories have come out of people doing phenomenal things? How many stories? I mean, I had a life where I died during that time,
right?
And it is a drop, you know, in this big bucket of experiences that happen. And I don't think it's something that it's about not, you know, that we don't judge him or we don't. I don't know. I just think there's more to the story than that, and that's not PC to say. I know that, and I know. I mean, it's affected your family.
Yeah.
And so, how do you feel about it?
Well, let's hear Tiffany's point of view, and then if we have time, I can go into it briefly.
Okay.
Well, just to add to what Kerry is saying, I do believe we choose these potentials and these soul lessons to learn. And for me to learn forgiveness and compassion, I need to have an experience that takes me out of that. And so maybe I'm a victim of a rape or somebody doing something horrible to somebody in my family, that's unforgivable. Mm-hmm. And I have to learn through that experience forgiveness, compassion, and often that's the catalyst for a lot of people to really dig deep and find who they are and what these universal truths are, in spite of this horrific human thing that happened.
Shit fertilizes.
And these past life regressions and interviews of people who have done these things in past lives. I've listened to the past life regressions of like Hitler and Jack the Ripper, and they in the bigger picture, they played a very important role for humanity, mm-hmm. and helped facilitate a bigger awakening of people to say it's just unacceptable to be that way anymore. Mm-hmm. And like Jack the Ripper was trying to find he was a surgeon who was trying to find the spark of human life. So he wanted to surgically explore live people to find, he was trying to scientifically understand where was it? How did that happen?
Where did you hear this? Is this on Channeling
Erics? These are Channeling Erics and Shiny shows. These are great mediums who will bring through notable people in history, mm-hmm. interview them about their life, their soul purpose, their contract, did they fulfill it? What would they have done differently? And they all have, sometimes somebody will tell you a story and you make a big old judgment about it, and then you get another piece of information and you're like, oh, well, I can kind of see how that went down. Or, these past life interviews always give that to me because you think, how could that fit in with this model?
Mm-hmm.
And then like Hitler came in and he played a very dark role as a human, but his...
Uh-oh, you guys are freezing up. Can you hear me? Oh, I think you're going to come back. Do you hear me? Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay.
So I was saying that maybe Hitler came in. Okay, so his essence was, and with total respect to all of the millions of people who firsthand witnessed his atrocities.
Yeah.
I'm not making light of this, but he came in to teach people how to, like all the allies, how to ally together, because everyone's inner fighting until you have a big common enemy, and then everybody has to band together, put down those petty differences, and say, enough, stop, it's just inhumane.
Wow.
And that was a huge role he played in the awakening of human consciousness, the value of human life, and how we treat each other. So, as horrible as it was, it played a role in our conscious awakening, awakening.
Right.
And all of these horrible things that happen, if you go high enough, you will find the reason. And we may not physically, humanly be able to understand it here. But that's, people say God has a plan, it's God's will. Yeah, but we may not get it here.
But it does. But that's a really, really good point, because I think that it is some things. It's sort of like your kids, and they can't. Why can't I have pizza? I really, really, really want pizza. Well, you're thinking, can't have pizza because we had pizza last night, and you're gonna have hot dogs tomorrow. And we just kind of have to balance it out. They don't get that, right? And so as you get older and as you get wiser, so maybe we are just not at a place that we can see these things. I mean, that's just echoing what you just said eloquently.
No, and I totally agree with you. Yeah.
I think we learn way more through difficult experiences than this search for, the highs, the pleasure, the joy. We learn a lot in those difficult times.
When I'm happy, where's the motivation? I'm not going to go dark. I mean, I'm not going to dig down and figure out how do I become happier. It's when you're dark and low that you are like, okay, I can't do this. I have to do some work and figure out how to get to that place.
There's that contrast.
But with the awakening, I'm hoping that is speeding up. That you're able to. You don't have to get as deep or as dark or have something as atrocious happen. You're just more aware.
I'm seeing it happen with my clients, like really quickly.
Yeah.
Whoa.
How'd you do that? Why did it take me 4 years? Yeah, exactly. But it's interesting because I once asked, because there were many times, again, in my 20s, where I put myself in these places where I could have been hurt. I mean, and I'd asked my guys at one point, I said, why, there are many times where I could have, where it could have happened, these different things. And they said, because you couldn't have done the work you're doing now. I mean, it would have been so hard for you to get past that, to move out of that victim role, to move out of that. And so, you have a lot to do here, and as we all do. And that's, we didn't want that to happen. I mean, and not that I don't think there is still, I don't think they control. I mean, there's definitely free will, and it just wasn't in my contract to have some of these happen. But I don't know. That just puts a different perspective on some of that.
And I also don't think it means to just sit back and go, well, that must be their lot in life because they're here. If you're called into action to help or to intervene or to do something, if you're called, you step into action and you take positive movement towards helping. I don't just say, well, that's your contract. Good luck.
Right. I'm going to step over you, as I'm walking into the grocery store. And I completely agree with it. And, yeah, that's true.
Well, and then action balanced with the fear that comes in. I think we all can relate to wanting to act and then having that voice of doubt and fear that can smother or dampen the action. And how do you two deal with that in your lives? When you're called for action, what does that feel like? What do you notice? And then how do you, have you had to deal with fear? And if you have, how did you move through it? How do you move through it?
I'm talking about
daily. I don't know. Yeah, I mean all the time.
You walk through some pretty big fears.
Fears. false emotions appearing real. I mean, it's
say more about that.
Fear is false emotions appearing real.
Oh, you mean the what do you call it?
Acronym?
The acronym.
Yeah, well, and again, I keep going back to Course in Miracles, and it's if you're not choosing joy and peace, and then you're not choosing you haven't chosen correctly. And you're like, what? How?
Yeah,
I mean, how do you always choose joy and peace and love? I mean, how do you not get pissed off or upset or scared or angry or whatever?
Right.
So when I feel the fear, I mean, tapping is my go-to response, because then I will use that to say, what am I afraid of? Like, I really want to dissect the thought. I often get way in the head, but I say, where's the thought coming from? What am I afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
How is my body responding with all this fear? What is it? My default pattern is to go get in the bed and pull the covers over.
Mm-hmm.
Where's that coming from? And often there'll be a memory or a feeling, and I just sit with it. I say, this is part of the human experience. But if I act from that place, it'll look very different than if I move through it, I sit with it, I accept it, and then I keep stepping into action through love anyway. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, fear comes up daily for me.
It's not like you really are describing a process. It's not like I feel a call to action. I'm going to go out the door and like this, like in the cartoons where you see the pew.
Yeah.
So you're describing a real process. And how about you, Kerry? How do you feel called to action? And do you have?
I call her.
I
call her when I'm in fear. I think this is good. I call you. No, I mean, yeah, I do. Because sometimes I need fresh eyes to see it. I need fresh eyes to say, okay, I need reminding. I need somebody to cut through the fear for me. That energy can get so dense so fast. Call to action.
So getting dense really fast, does that mean overwhelming?
Yeah, and I do tend to go underground. I mean, I do tend to kind of have to go under.
Pull the covers over.
Yeah, but for me, sometimes it's just I have to be alone. I mean, I just have to be by myself. Without things tend to go out, and I need to kind of regroup and pull it back in. But as far as talking about the fear, it's funny because. I mean, you guys probably know more than I do because I can't see it right now. I don't know what I'm afraid of. I know for a long time it was my health. I mean, I think once you get that real scare, I was talking about doing a prophylactic mastectomy. I mean, it was every time the phone would ring and I get something else cut off my body, I would literally, the room would get smaller and I would shake because it's like, is this the call? Am I about to have to do chemotherapy? I mean, it was just, it was so real for me. And Tiff was like, okay, this is, and doing work with her, it really kind of put all that, if it is, it is. This is that I'm supposed to go through this. And, it's going to suck. And I'm sure I'm not really going to feel that way. But okay, let's go. And, but I haven't had that kind of fear in a very long time.
He's pretty fearless. You seem fearless to me.
Really? Thank you for that.
Yeah. She likes to think big and where next and how to, and I'm a little more.
You're the governor, but that's why we work.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I think that's why the two of you are such a beautiful representation of this human experience in life that metaphysical moms and dads and everyone alike are having to navigate on some level. And I do want to hear about what calls you into action. We're going to need to just close it up pretty soon. But tell me, what brings you that sense of action?
For me, it's hunger. No, I mean, not food. Hunger. Uh-huh. It's a hunger. It's this scratch I can't itch. Is that right? No, itch I can't scratch. I get that backwards. No, it is this, for me, it is this, and it comes in waves, and it's like, oh, I have an idea, and then it's like, okay, I'm tired. And then the idea will come back around, which is what happened with the show, and it is just this creativity. I think being creative is what calls me to action. And then in that, I love to go do things in the world because I really do feel like this world is just our play. It's like our big playground, and I think that's what caused me. I don't know. What about you?
my heart calls me to action, and then the head quickly rattles off all the reasons why it's not, it's not time, it's not appropriate, not other, blah, 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 all the things. So it's responding to the heart, and it's quieting the mind and responding to the heart. And I've done vision books. I've done like what would be so fun and delicious? What would be, the Astros are in the World Series, and I was like, oh, it would be so fun to wake up tomorrow and have, our city be the World Series champs. Wouldn't that be so fun? I start playing this game of, wouldn't it be fun? And then, boom, that becomes your reality. And it's like, oh, that's so fun. And I give gratitude and I give thanks. So my call to action is when I get in a high place of, wouldn't this be so fun to just let your imagination play out, whatever that is for you, before the head starts screaming, but you can't, it's not possible. I do it from that place. Because if I try to do it from the place of putting out fires and I've got to do this first and long lists, it just gets to be a lot of work. It gets exhausting, and then it's really easy to just stop the momentum cold.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So playing with your imagination of, wouldn't it be fun? And then what's a step you could take in that direction? What's an action step you could take from that direction that just feels fun and it feels kind of easy? Or you make that call, or you write down that idea, or it flows that way. So much easier.
I love it.
Yeah. It's funny because one day I was coming back from the store and I grocery shopping, and I don't know who it was. I had a blue bean with me for a while, and he was like, "Oh my God, you guys are just so busy. You're just so busy. Like, you're just busy." Yeah. It's like, well, you have to go to the grocery store, and you have to cook, and you have to put it on the table, and you have to do dishes, and yes, we're busy. We can't just wiggle our nose and it's all done. But there are always reasons not to do things. Always reasons not to do things. You have to focus on the reasons to do things. But then you have to figure out what that thing is. So I love how you say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but we're all here to play in this big old mess together. Take it for a joyride. So there's no right or wrong way. This is just what's worked for us.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much. I love you both.
We love you too. We're going to see you soon.
Yes, indeed. I am. For anyone who's interested in the work that I do, I'll be in Houston. Thanks for reminding me. I'll be there December 7th through the 10th, and I am seeing clients. But this is all about you. I want to thank you so much. Your show is the JoyRide Show, so check it out. You guys put out your stuff usually every Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday, Facebook Live is 9:30 Central. We usually do, so if you're interested, come join us on Facebook Live, and we cover all kinds of topics, so jump in.
And then go over to YouTube. That's where everything lives.
Yeah, everything lives on YouTube. And do you guys know who you're going to have next week?
Next week is Thanksgiving, so we are taking the week off, but we're hoping to do with somebody named Nora, kind of a dissection of last week's show. Yeah, and then, so that might be our next.
Julia Cannon will be coming on after that. That's Laura Cannon's daughter.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, stay tuned, everybody. There's a lot coming up on the JoyRide Show. Yes! And thank you, Mama, so much. I think that your wisdom is so beneficial to this very important time in humanity's history, future.
As is yours.
As is yours. And you know what, though, guys? Don't take it so seriously. Just have fun.
Fun, for crying out loud. Fun!
Yes.
Turn off the news. All right, ladies. I love you both. Take good care.
See you later. Bye.